Just wondering what was going through your mind when they pulled within 3 in the fourth quarter.
They deserved to pull within 3. That's what was going through my mind. I mean, we played, 14 or 16 minutes of bad basketball, and you can't do that in an NBA game. You're lucky to have the lead at all. We played really well early in the game, but they missed a couple of shots right around the rim, so it was probably not as good as it looked on the scoreboard. And then, we let our guard down, per se, and they played well. So that's a killer combination, right? They made shots. They hurt us in transition. They got a couple of and ones and aggressive plays to the rim. But then I was happy, Bill. You go through all these situations so many times in a year. I was really happy with how we responded. I thought we responded really well. We went right back up to 15, and that's hard to do, especially when things just aren't going your direction.
Avery had talked the other night about how you guys seem to be learning how to win now. Is that sort of what you were talking about in those last 8 minutes?
Well, we've, knock on wood, because this can change, and sometimes it's just dependent on the game you're playing and whether the ball bounces in or not. But we've been good in those moments, and really the most part of the month. And we had a little bit of an adjustment, obviously, after Rondo was traded and Jeff was traded. But, when in close games, or, we've had to come back in a couple of these games. And I feel like, for the most part, it's been a positive in the last 8 minutes of games. So that's encouraging, from where we started the year.
Coach, the offense seemed very crisp and cohesive during the first half. How would you describe what you saw out of the guys during those first 2 quarters?
Well, I think, first of all, Philly turned it up a notch defensively, and they went to more extended pressure, and, they're playing free, and we've talked about how hard it is to play with the lead and how freeing it is sometimes to be behind. And, the one thing that we can't put on the court, with them is a lineup that's as long and athletic as their most athletic lineup, which they went with a couple of times. When they've got McDaniels and Grant and Sampson and those guys all out there, and Noel, those guys are long, athletic guys that cover a lot of ground, and playing in the full court was hard against those guys. Playing in the half court was hard against those guys. They locked us up a little bit more, and that's why we went big late. That's why we went with Tyler and Sully together, and rolled the dice a little bit that Bahamute, he might get an open shot or two with Sully and Tyler in, but we're just going to go inside and try to be more effective in the paint, because what we were doing wasn't working.
Coach, other than the slight adjustments with Zeller and Sully in the starting lineup, do you feel like you're getting more comfortable and more confident with these rotations?
Mm-hmm. I know how I want to play these guys, but, if Tayshaun's back, that'll change some things.
In a good way?
No, that's right. In a good way. Yeah, you add another good player, but I've got to adjust the rotations then a little bit.